So there is one glitch with my device. It will tell me to wait, it will connect, and then boom, it will power up. So a while ago, I made a video where I explained how you can record straight into your camera using an external recorder such as the Zoom H4N Pro. And one of my viewers asked me what are the best settings for this recorder. So in this video, we're going to address that. We're also going to have a look at the physicalities of this recorder, the menu, and how you can use this recorder as an audio interface. So let's go ahead and start. Okay, so the first thing we're going to start with is the physical aspects of this recorder. So this recorder comes with two omnidirectional microphones. These are condenser microphones, and orientation of the microphones can be changed from 120 degrees away from each other to 90 degrees depending on the situation of your recording. It comes with two inputs. These are XLR, TRS. You can also put TS because I have here something similar. These are only adapters, but this is what they look like. They're 1/4 inch TRS that accepts. Some microphones have this kind of connection, so they'll have a TRS, and TS is what usually instruments have. And the reason they're called TS, I'm not going to go too deep into this, but I'm just going to briefly explain. The reason they're called TS and TRS is because the T stands for tip, the R for ring, and S for sleeve. So tip, ring, sleeve, TRS. And this one is TS, tip and sleeve. There's also connectors with two rings between the tip and the sleeve. So those ones are TRS. So those ones will have two of these rings. The black ones, they're isolators. They isolate the conductors, because all these metal ones, they're conductors. So that's what TRS and TS stands for. So as you can see here in the center, they have these holes, and they will go like that. Or you can just plug an XLR cable, which will go like this. So either XLR or TRS. Compared to the previous model, this one has locking mechanisms that previous model did not have. And also this recorder comes with a 3.5mm input for small microphones, and this is powered by 2.5 volts. By the way, these two inputs are powered by either 24 or 48 volts phantom power. So you need to be careful. You need to make sure your microphone does require either 24 volt or 48 volt phantom power. If it does not, some microphones can be damaged if you have phantom power turned on while you plug them in. So you need to be aware of that. And also some microphones require different voltage phantom. Unless they're either 24 and 48, like I said, they will not be compatible. And on the side, we have a remote socket, line out or headphone output, which has a dedicated control, USB socket, and the power switch. And the switch also has the function of locking everything on the device. So if you slide this switch on the hold position, everything on the device will be locked, so nothing can be bumped into accidentally or changed while you have the hold turned on. So on the other side, you have a clicky scroll wheel. This is useful for going for the menu. So, and the menu button, which can take you either inside the menu or outside the menu. And also you have a microphone recorder level adjustment, and you can adjust this any microphone depending on what microphone you're using at that certain moment. On the back, you have a speaker, and this is only for playback, so you cannot use the speaker while you're recording because obviously it's going to interfere with your audio, and it's going to be picked up by your microphone, obviously. This is the microphone input, like I explained. This is powered by 2.5 volt, and you have a 1/4 inch mount. This is useful for mounting it on a tripod or magic arm, or you can even have it on top of the camera using a cold shoe. And inside, behind this flap, you have the batteries, and you also have the stamina mode switch. So when you have this to the left, where it says on, it means it's on, and if you slide it to the right, it will be off. So I do want to mention, if you don't have the stamina on, and you do want to turn it on, you will have to slide this, like I said, to on position, and then you'll have to power the device off and then on again. Okay, it has the power supply socket, so you can provide power supply to it while you're inside a house or studio, which is very useful because if you use phantom power for your microphones, you will go off the batteries very fast, and it's annoying to change the batteries or having to buy batteries all the time. Even if you're using rechargeable ones, you still have to recharge them very often because phantom power will run for your batteries very fast. I do want to mention that you don't need either batteries or phantom power while you're using the recorder as an audio interface. So if you have it plugged into the computer in the USB socket, then the device will be powered by the cable that runs to the computer. So that is it for the physical aspects of this device. And now let's go dive into the menu. Okay, so let's power on the device. You do want to make sure you're running the latest version of the software, which will show at the top here when you turn on the device, which in my case is version 1.10. So this device has 4 modes of recording. It has stereo, 4-channel, and multi-track recording. It also has stamina mode, but stamina mode is just a similar version of stereo mode with a few limitations. So you're limited to playing and recording files that are no higher than 44.1 kilohertz sample rate and 16-bit depth, or MP3 files. And also there's a few things missing from the menu. Okay, so if we look at the device, we have a few buttons over here. So you have the record button, the stop, the play, pause, and then the skip buttons. So the button where it says microphone is for these 2 built-in microphone, and the 1 and 2 is these 2 inputs. So you can switch between them by pressing any of them. So if I'm pressing these, we'll switch to these 2. If I'm pressing back on microphone, we'll switch to these 2. So if I'm trying to record something now, if I press the record once, which will take me into pre-record mode, it will show me the levels, and also it will use these 2 microphones. If I stop it now and if I press these 2 buttons, I press the record, it doesn't show any levels because I have nothing plugged in here at the bottom. I'm going to stop that now. And over here at the top we have 4 buttons, and these are shortcut buttons, and depending on the recording mode I'm using, they can do different things. In stereo mode, they will do exactly things that they say over here. So if I press the folder, it will take me into the folder settings. So over here I can copy a folder, move a folder around, I can delete or rename a folder. If I go into the file, then I'll have similar options. I can copy a file, I can move it around, rename it, I can convert it from WAV to MP3, and I can delete it. Also, I can import it into a project if I want to. And if I go to the speed will adjust the playback speed. So I can have a playback speed between 50% and 150%. So over here I can choose what kind of files I want my recordings to be. I can choose between a WAV and MP3, and I don't know if you know this, but WAV, it's a lossless uncompressed type of file, and that's what I have mine set at. In terms of choosing the sample rate and the bit depth, let me explain the sample rate a little bit to you guys. So when you record audio using a digital medium such as Zoom H4N Pro, we're actually capturing certain bits of sound that are captured at certain moments in time. This process is referred to as sample rate. So if we zoom in any file, we can see these tiny little dots, and each and every one of these dots represent a sample. The reason sample rates are expressed in hertz is because they tell us how often a sample is recorded in a certain time period, therefore at what rate. So if we want to capture a high frequency sound which naturally has a short wavelength, it is best to use double the sample rate of the highest frequency sound we're trying to record. Human hearing is believed to perceive frequencies between 20 Hz and 20,000 Hz. So 20,000 Hz times 2 is 40,000 Hz, or 40 kilohertz. That's the reason why when you're recording on a WAV file, you cannot go any lower than 44.1 Hz. But I prefer having mine at 48,000 Hz or 48 kilohertz. In terms of bit depth will determine the dynamic range of the samples you're trying to record. So the H4N Pro has the option to record at either 16 or 24 bit depth. 16 will give you a dynamic range of 96 decibels, whereas 24 will allow a dynamic range of 144 decibels. Some Pro recorders, like for example the newly released F2, the F6, and some other ones from Sound Devices, allows 32-bit float, and these recorders give you the option to record without having to worry about clipping or distorting your audio. So those are the settings that I'm using when it comes to the quality of my audio. I'm using WAV because it's lossless and it's uncompressed, and I'm using 48,000 Hz or 48 kilohertz and 24 bits. So let's go for the menu a little bit now. I'm only going to cover stereo because this is probably the most used mode for this recorder, and this is the mode that I'm using because I'm only recording dialogue and I'm doing voice recordings. I'm not using the 4-channel or the multi-track recorder either, because those modes are mostly useful for music. I'm not a music creator, so therefore I'm only using stereo. So if we go into the menu in the stereo mode, we have the folder and file, which I explained a little bit earlier, which you can access using these shortcuts from the main screen. And if we go into the input, over here we have the low cut. Low cut is also known as high pass, and the reason they're confused is because what low cut does, low cut will cut the lower frequencies in your sound The reason it's also called high pass is because low cut will allow the higher frequencies to pass. So higher frequencies will pass and lower frequencies will be cut. Low cut, high pass. That's why the confusion, but they're one and the same thing. And low cut is used for when you're trying to eliminate background noise such as running fans, like a computer running, or an air con, or anything that's low frequency. It's not something I'm using a lot because I've tested it and it doesn't make that big of a difference when it comes to eliminating background noises. I prefer using other things which are a little bit more efficient, like for example you can eliminate background noises in Adobe Audition. I think it's always best to record good quality audio straight into the recorder than trying to fix it. For example, I'd rather have my computer off while I'm recording audio, and if that's not possible, then I'll probably try and move it away and cover it with something rather than relying on the low cut, which from my experience it doesn't do an amazing job when it comes to eliminating the noise coming from the fan of my computer. So the next thing down are the compressors and the limiters. So although I will explain what they are, how they work, and also which one I use, please do bear in mind that compressors and limiters can take months, perhaps even longer to master. And even though they are very useful tools, they can deteriorate your audio more than they can improve it if used in the wrong way. So what are compressors and limiters? A compressor will amplify your whole audio level, so the quieter sounds are amplified and won't be as quiet anymore, and the louder sounds in your audio will be reduced, so they won't be as loud anymore. So overall, your audio will be more even in terms of amplitude after a compressor has been applied to it. Similarly, limiters will either reduce the louder sounds in your recording or will limit them altogether depending on the compression ratio. Compressors and limiters have thresholds, and thresholds determine at what amplitude they will intervene in your audio. Thresholds are either manually set or they can be preset. Like in our case on the Zoom H4N Pro, we have presets and you cannot adjust the threshold manually. You will have the freedom of choosing a preset. This table here shows the presets available on the Zoom H4N Pro. So on this table, we notice the threshold, which like I explained, it determines when the compressors or limiters to kick in. Ratio will determine the level of compression. So for example, a 9:1 ratio will spare only 1 dB for every 9 that will pass the threshold. The output is what result to expect on that ratio. Attack time, it's a bit self-explanatory, so it tells us how fast our compressor or limiter will kick in after the threshold has been passed. Release time is how fast or slow the compression will take to completely switch off. Please do bear in mind that sometimes fast attack times and slow release time can make your vocals sound a bit unnatural. So which one do I use? I don't use any of them. I prefer to use compressors when I do my edits, and limiters I don't need to use because I can adjust and monitor my levels so my audio does not clip. And although limiters are like a safety net, I never felt the need to use one, especially since like around 6 months ago I've upgraded to the Zoom F6. The Zoom F6 gives you the possibility to record in 32-bit float, which means practically you cannot clip your audio and you'll never get distortion on that recorder. And I'm using that recorder for most of my recordings nowadays. But if you are a beginner and you don't know which one to use, I recommend that you don't use any of them at first. But if you do want to use them or practice, I recommend that you use compressors in post-production and you only use limiters on the recorder if you need that safety net. Okay, so moving down, here we have the monitor option, and this option will allow you to monitor your audio through the 3.5 socket, so you can have headphones plugged in and you can monitor your audio all the time. Farther down, we have the 1/2 link. This option will link these two inputs together. If they link together when you adjust the record level, it will adjust it for both of them, and if you have it unlinked when you turn it off, then you can adjust them separately. Level Auto is an option that will adjust the level on your recorder by itself. So it will analyze the input level and it will adjust it accordingly. This is not something I'm using. I'd rather have control over my levels. And over here we have the mono mix. I think this is a useful feature. What mono mix does, it will turn one channel mono into stereo. So for example, if you're using a shotgun microphone like I am, you will only record on one of the channel and the audio will be mono. So if you play that in a pair of headphones which are stereo or in a stereo system, it will only play in one one speaker or one headphone, and your audio will sound like it's broken. So this option will duplicate the audio from whatever channel you're recording, either left or right, and it will turn your audio into stereo. And this is very useful if you don't have the possibility to do that in post. I'm sometimes doing it in post, so I'm fine recording mono onto the device because I can do that in post. And the way I do it in post, I go to Premiere and I apply this filter, which is called fill left with right or fill right with left, depending on what channel I have my audio. Please do bear in mind, if you want to turn the mono mix on, you'll have to have the 1/2 link on as well. And if we move farther down, we have the MS Matrix. So this function enables you to convert stereo microphone signals when you're using a mid-side recording configuration. So for example, if you have a microphone that has a pickup pattern only to the sides, and you use a different microphone at the same time that has a pickup pattern focused at the front. And this is a useful tool for music creators. It is not something I have used, so I cannot go into great detail about it. So moving down to Phantom, here you have the option to adjust your phantom power from 24 to 48 volt, and also you have the option to turn it off. In my case, I have it off because I'm not using it at the moment. If we move down to plugin, plugin is similar to phantom power, so it will provide power but to the microphone input at the back, which is a 3.5mm input at the back. So that's what plug-in power is for. For example, if I take this microphone over here, which is a lavalier microphone, this is a microphone that came with my Tascam DR10L. This is a very good microphone. You get very good value for the money with this microphone because the quality on this microphone is very impressive. So like I was saying, if you have this turned off, if you plug this at the back, you won't get any signal. But if you do have it turned on, obviously then you can use this microphone. So this microphone, when you plug it in, will override these two microphones. So these will be cancelled and only this one will be used when you plug it in, and you have the plugin turned on in the menu. So in terms of using this combination lavalier recorder, my opinion is that it can be used if you're carrying a bag with you, so you can hide this in a bag, or if you're wearing like a large coat or winter jacket and you can hide this in the pocket or somewhere. But if you don't have that possibility and you're recording something where you don't want these kind of things to show, then this may not be a good option for you. You may have to choose a smaller recorder such as Tascam or a Zoom F2, something like that. And also because this is kind of sticking out, I think it's placed in the wrong position. I wish Zoom would have placed this somewhere on the side or at the bottom, somewhere else. I think this is not the most optimal position for this socket, but yeah. Okay, so that's everything for the inputs. Now we're gonna go out and we're gonna go to record. In the record settings, you have the option to choose your file format between WAV and MP3, and also you can choose your sample rate and your bit depth like I discussed earlier. Auto record is an option where your device will start recording by itself. So if you go into auto record, you can set a threshold at what point after the device will detect levels you want it to start, and at what point you want it to stop after it won't detect any more level. So you can set these levels for when the device to start and when the device to stop. This is not an option that I've used, but I guess it can be useful for people who don't want to record like when people are not talking, because it'll be a waste of memory space and perhaps even power. Okay, pre-record is an option where the device will record a couple of seconds extra before you press the record button. And again, this is not something I find useful, but maybe it can be for some people. And over here you have the option to change from default to date and time when it comes to naming your files. And that's everything in the record. And now we're going to move down to tool. Tool is an option which is specifically designed for music creators, and like I said, I'm not a music creator, and again, I've never used this option in the menu. But over here you can tune your instruments. You have the metronome, and to be honest, like I said, I'm not a musician. I don't even know exactly what metronome does, but I think it creates this tempo, and I think the device itself may even make these beeps or sounds while using this feature, which I suppose it can be useful for music creators. And A/B repeat will give you the option to repeat a certain portion of your audio file recording. So you can set your A and B and you can repeat that, which can be useful if you want to listen to it. And over here you can adjust the speed of your playbacks. And over here you have the option to record on the memory of the device. I didn't even know the device has a memory. Or you can back up things. And I'm going to exit and I'm going to go into play mode. Play mode self-explanatory. It will give you the option to choose how you want your files to be played. If we go into the system, we can amend the date and time if we need to. We can choose how long we want our backlight to be on, and we can change the contrast, and we can change the type of battery we're using. And I think setting the right kind of battery is important, because that will give you a correct estimate of how much battery you still have left and how much longer you can use the device. By the way, if you're recording something and you're running out of battery while you're recording and the device will power off, everything will be lost. So it's very important to make sure you have enough battery before you start recording. And if you think you're running out of battery anytime soon, it's probably best to stop recording and save rather than losing everything, because the device will power off. And over here you can check the version of the device just like you can when you turn the device on, and on this option will give you the factory reset device, and that's everything for the system. And now we're going to move further down, the SD card. And on the SD card you can see how much memory you still have left, and you can format the SD card. I'm not going to do any of them. I'm just going to exit and go to USB. And in the USB you have the option to choose between using the device as a card reader, so you can plug it to your computer and you can access the SD card from your computer, and also you can use the device as an audio interface. But if you want to do these two things, you don't have to do it from the menu. You just need to plug the cable into the USB socket on the device and into the computer, and the device will turn on, and it will give you these two options when it does. Moving down to mode, and over here it's self-explanatory. You can change between the record modes on the device. Okay, and that's everything when it comes to the menu. Now we're going to move on to how you can connect and use this device as an audio interface. If you want to use this device as an audio interface, all you have to do is plug in the cable that came with your device into the computer, and then plug it into the socket, and the Zoom H4N Pro will power on by itself, and it will ask you what audio interface. So I'm going to choose audio interface. Here I can choose the sample rate, and the next option would be to connect. I'll click connect. So there is one glitch with my device. It will tell me to wait, it will connect, and then boom, it will power off. No warning, nothing. It will just power off. That's it. So there is a way to overcome this. I don't know whether this is an issue with every Zoom H4N Pro device, but I know my one has it, and I know how I can overcome it. So in order to overcome this issue, all you have to do is to have power just during this transition. Power on by itself. Okay, so I'm going to choose audio interface again, and I'm going to click connect. So now I'm going to wait for it to connect. A few seconds. Okay, and it's connected. And now after it's connected, I can take the batteries out. I don't need the battery anymore, and the device will stay on, because like I said, it's being powered by the cord that runs to the computer. If you have this problem, like I said, I don't know whether this is the case with every H4N Pro device out there, but I know I have this problem, and that's how I can overcome it. Another way you can overcome this is by having the DC power supply while you're trying to connect, and after it's connected and it shows you the levels, only leave this USB cable to power the device. The second problem I came across while trying to use this recorder as an audio interface is not getting any levels on the computer, and the way you can overcome that is by installing the drivers from the Zoom official website onto your device. So I went on their website and downloaded the drivers for Windows. I've installed them, and after I've installed them, not only the device will show on my computer the way it did even before I had the drivers, but now I'm getting signals as well, because before I was not getting any signals, although it would show on Premiere Pro or Isotope. So that's the second issue, and after you've done these two things, then you can use the device as an audio interface for your computer. No problem, it works great. Like always, everyone, thanks for watching. I do appreciate you staying with me throughout this video. Please don't forget to like and share if you want. It helps the channel, and if you're that kind of person who likes these kind of videos, consider subscribing, because I'm making this sort of video all the time. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care now.